Man, woman, birth, death, infinity.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Your Health television program here on AMP's Cable Channel 24 and on the internet at www.ampmedia.org. Join our rotating host and their informative guest live every Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock. The purpose of the Your Health television program is to help get, make, and keep listeners and viewers like you healthy. And now, ladies and gentlemen, on with the program.
Hello, and welcome to the Your Health television program hosted by the Monterey County Health Department. I'm your host, Emily Sciolto. Today, just about every third Monday of the month, each month. Here's something to think about. Would you be ready if there were an emergency? Do you have a flashlight, a radio, and backup batteries handy? If there were an emergency, how would you get in contact with your family? Where would you go, and what will you do? How would you help your neighbors and your community if disaster happened? Well, not only does September 2011 mark the 10th annual anniversary of 9/11, but it also marks the 8th annual anniversary of National Preparedness Month, sponsored by the United States Department of Homeland Security. One goal of Homeland Security is to educate the public about how to prepare for emergencies, including natural disasters, mass casualties, biological and chemical threats, radiation emergencies, and terrorist attacks. The Department of Homeland Security recommends that you make an emergency supply kit, make your emergency plans, stay informed as your local emergency services office will be providing information, and they recommend that you get involved in helping your family, your business, and your community be ready for emergencies. So that's what we'll be talking about on today's program. I'd like to welcome my first guest to the program. Sitting across from me right now, we have Miss Krista Hanni. Krista is the Surveillance and Preparedness Manager at the Monterey County Health Department Public Health Bureau. Krista, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Really enjoying to be able to talk about preparedness.
Excellent. It's going to be a nice full hour of preparedness talk here. So, Krista, let's get into it. What should I do specifically to be prepared for an emergency?
Well, do you have a plan? So when I say do you have a plan, you could have different components of a plan, and it might seem daunting at first for people to, well, what do you mean by plan? The first thing you could do is just look at your house and determine 2 exits from every room in the event there was a fire. That's just the start. You'd write that down, and then you start to build on that. The ultimate goal of your plan is that your family knows where they should be after a variety of types of disasters, wherever they are, and how to get a hold of each other. Now, in this age of cell phones, you'd think that would be relatively easy, but don't count on cell phones working during certain types of disasters. Don't count on necessarily being near a cell phone. So you're going to want to have landline abilities, and you're going to want to have a friend or a family member, maybe even outside of the town or the city that you live in, or even the state, that family would know who to contact and how to reach them. And then they also have to have other components of the plan as far as how they would try to, where they would meet, whether it's a fire in your house and meeting outside the house and a spot for that, just as simple as that, or if there was, say, an earthquake and where you might meet to try to, if you're trying to get back from work or get back from school. The other components of plans that are important are if you do have family members that are at different businesses or at school, or in maybe a long-term care facility, you want to know what their plans are as well and ensure that they have the coverage that you'd want for that family member, and or how you'd be getting a hold of that family member in the event of some sort of natural or man-made disaster. So that's the start.
Wow, that's a big start. And you told me not to get overwhelmed at first, so
right.
I won't. Is there anything that we have available or that's available to help make this plan, or to
There's a lot on the web these days, and I think you've brought a few materials in that I would like you to show some of the individuals that are watching. So at ready.gov, they have various checklists that can go into making your plan, and you're putting one up there for people to see, and it has emergency contact numbers, locations, where people would be at certain times of the day. And you should have that plan with your home emergency kit as well as in a to-go bag. And then there'd be also little kits with photocopies of that plan in your car, so that or whatever vehicle you're using, so that you always have it with you. The same thing for your family members if they're in a long-term care facility or a school, that plan could be in their files there to be called upon.
Okay, great. So I guess I maybe already had the answer. I was prepared for that, for my own question. That's good. So again, that's ready.gov, you said, for the various templates for creating a family plan that I just showed up.
Right.
We've got maybe contacting a member, a family member or a friend outside of the area, outside of the state even. And I can see how that'd be a good idea. I mean, cell phones may not be working, and local capacity may be kind of
there are
compromised.
Right. And a lot of people that have lived here in Monterey County for a time may remember back with the 1989 quake how difficult it was to get a phone line out. And then, some phone lines might be down going north or south, but others are up that are going east or west. And that was before the days of cell phones. And know where your landlines are. In your house, you should also have a non-electric or digital type of phone, so that you could plug a phone into your landline if you still have a landline. And if you don't have a landline, know where some of the working ones are in your neighborhood, whether it's the old phone on the corner at the grocery store or whatnot that you could go use.
Okay, so yeah, just because we have cell phones and new technology, don't throw out the old phone with the answering machine and whatnot, because we need to maybe plug that in and use it in case.
Not the answering machine.
Well,
but the one that can be plugged in.
The device itself, correct? Those kind of clunky older things there.
Right. But I've mentioned some things that go into a kit. So once you have your plan, part of it as well is starting to put kits together that can allow you to be more self-sufficient in the event there is a type of disaster. And how much you've got in that kit and what you've got is for different types of disasters, and depending upon whether there's a home kit or a kit for your car or even a small kit for work in case you get stuck at work because of whatever has happened with roads or bridges, etc.
That would be sort of dreadful, to be stuck at work.
It could be in the event that work isn't usually set up for people to be staying there for 2 or 3 days at a time. There's probably not enough food there to feed everybody. There might not be blankets, spare changes of clothes, things like that. So again, at ready.gov, they have items to go into a kit, and you're going to want to go look at that, make lists of what you have already. Maybe instead of taking one of those bags of clothes over to Goodwill, you could put some of those clothes into your kit at home.
Okay.
So the kit could start to get a little larger, and you're going to probably use a duffel bag. You may have a spare one of those around, or maybe a garbage can can fit a lot of this. And you're going to store this somewhere near an exit to the building that you live in, or a door if you're in an apartment, somewhere that it's easier to get to in case there happens to be any structural damage, say there was an earthquake. And then also in your car, usually in the trunk of the car, you'll have a smaller kit there. Part of the kit is going to include, like you mentioned earlier when you introduced us, things like flashlights, batteries. There's going to be food, but it should be non-perishable food. You're also going to want to have water, and that's actually one of the most significant items to put aside and plan for, because water supplies can often go down and not be available again for several days. That's about 1 gallon of water per person per day, and that includes enough for you to cook with, a little bit for washing and cleaning.
So how many days, we're talking about putting together an emergency kit, some of the items that we'd need, some of the places that we would put an emergency kit. How many days are we preparing this kit for on average?
You know, they used to talk about 3 days, but now they tend to stretch it out 3 to 7. And just think of some of the emergencies we've seen in the news of late, natural disasters, whether it was hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, floods, and mudslides. So it can really range, but I remember with the recent floods out on the East Coast that some of those areas didn't get power back for several days. And so if you're trying to stay in your home and be more self-sufficient, you have to plan for that. And there's a lot of food out there these days that's really set up well for this type of of home-based survival, where it's non-perishable. Cans are great. Make sure, though, you don't have an electric can opener.
Right, okay.
That's a big mistake to make when you open up that Go Kit. And then there's also going to be a lot of granola bars and quick-to-eat bars, things you don't have to use heat for, but that are fairly nourishing and give you that protein that you need. And then, of course, your water, your liquids.
Okay. So we've got a couple things going on here. A kit, a plan, and I'm you know, I doubt sometimes my abilities to be able to put these things together and not really be able to have a situation where I can try to use them, just maybe test it, I guess.
Right.
So is there some way that I would be able to just test it, just for fun? I mean...
Well, a great thing to do, first of all, you got to get it together.
Okay.
And you said that might be overwhelming. One way to deal with that, you could make your list. There's those lists I mentioned, ready.gov, where you could put the list together, and every week just pick up a few items when you go shopping.
Okay.
Stop at the dollar store. Great place to pick up some of these emergency supplies. Lots of flashlights and screwdrivers and
batteries.
Duct tape, batteries. Duct tape's always very handy to have in that kit. A little bit of plastic. You want to, you know, cover up windows that are broken or things like that, or for cleaning things up. Also for sanitation, some buckets and plastic bags to put in that, because if water's down, you're not going to have flushable toilets. Once you have it together, your kit, or reasonably together, then there are ways to test it. And coming up in October is the Great Shakeout. And on October 20th at 10:20 in the morning, there's going to, everyone in the state can simulate that there's an earthquake going on. And you can download a little app to put on your computer for that, or on your smartphone, so that they'll shake and make noise. And then, of course, you're going to practice your personal preparedness measures, where you're going to duck underneath a cover, usually a desk or some other sturdy object, hold on, wait for the shaking to be over. And then you could then go out and test your plan. You could try to call out to that personal contact, the family contact, go get your kit out, open it up, put it back together, things like that.
Okay, okay. So there's a situation in which I can see if, you know, maybe I need to add someone else's number, maybe I need to take someone off, maybe I need to think about putting phone chargers in my car emergency kit. All these types of things, you know, we wouldn't know unless we tried to use our kit and our plan.
Right, so usually when there's the fall back and spring forward, or is it the other way around?
No, you're right.
I'm right. So whenever we have the change of time is a great time to go through your kit and replace any of the items that have expired. So even though there's non-perishable food, the water can, or the food can expire. You're going to want to check those dates on cans. And then with water, you can empty out your jugs of water and replace again.
Okay, okay, so that's a nice kind of mark there. That happens, what, twice annually? So we can check and make sure that we have everything right that we need to have in the kit. And one other thing that you mentioned earlier and that we talked about during the intro was be informed, staying informed. What does that mean? I mean, I mentioned that, you know, our local emergency services office will be having information for us. Or trying to get in touch with us. How do we know where to listen, how to go, you know? Well,
health departments are definitely being very active in this, because it's important for us to have our community as self-sufficient as possible when there's a disaster, because then we're better able to help those who are injured, and or your neighbors might be in a better state to help you if you were injured. So you want to go on the various websites that are out there. The health department has its website. You could just go to www.mtyhd.org, and then there's a link there to our National Preparedness Month website, where there's a lot of information and links to some of the other ones. And you're going to find out information there, not only about how you can be personally prepared, but about how you can get more informed. So there is a National Coalition for Preparedness Month, which anybody can join. It's a great place to just see what people are doing across the country to help their communities, their neighborhoods be more informed, be more prepared. An example is if you have a neighborhood group of any sort, you could potentially organize an event and have a scavenger hunt for the kids to find items to go into your personal Go Kit or your home preparedness kit. There's information about how to do that and how to get flyers that you can get for free to hand out. And by helping your neighbors be more informed, you're going to be more informed as well. The other thing is there are groups you can join that are even more active, where in the event of an emergency, they get called up. So there is the disaster healthcare volunteer option, and if you have certain skills, you can sign up for that. That also has a link on our website. There's the Citizens Corps, which is another one that allows people to volunteer and be part of this. Of course, there's the Red Cross. They have options for volunteers that help out in a variety of emergencies.
Well, great, great. That's a lot of good information there. So we've got how to make a kit. We've got the various things that the list that we need, and you suggested, I liked the dollar store idea a lot.
And to add to that, I was mentioning family members. Don't want to leave out pets. For some people, those are important family members.
Oh, yes.
Monterey County is great in that we're one of the first counties where our shelters worked with Red Cross to help create a way for people to take their pets with them. But you really need to prepare for your pets as well to be part of your emergency planning, and so that should be in your kit, and for ways that you can take care of them, including how you would move with them if you had to vacate very quickly. And part of that is, I mentioned the Go Kit. You want to have something where all of your important documents are photocopied and kept handy where you have them, and that includes your medication information, contact information, information for your pets, veterinary records, anything that could potentially get lost. And you want to have that either in your car with you or in a spot in your house where you're going to grab it right away as you're leaving the house if you get told to evacuate very quickly.
Okay, that's another kind of interesting layer to put, or interesting piece of the emergency kit. Again, that was important documents, medications. What other type of information did you say? You said, you know, any veterinary information for your pet?
Any of your vital records, birth certificates, death certificates from family members, anything that you would find it harder to replace without a copy. Copies of even your
driver's license,
visas, type of credit cards, for example. Things just to show, so that if it was with you and something happened to you, a person would have information there to potentially help you out when you're not able to help yourself, as well as then if you're trying to replace anything that were unfortunately lost because of the disaster, it'd be easier to do so.
Wow, thank you so much, Krista. That's really great information. And again, I want to thank you for talking with us today on the program. If you'd like more information on anything you just heard, please visit the Monterey County Health Department Preparedness Program on the web, as Krista mentioned, at www.mtyhd.org. Again, that's www.mtyhd.org. And also, we can mention the ready.gov website. It's www.ready.gov. And there you'll find some checklists for emergency kit supplies, some templates for how to prepare your family emergency plan, and all kinds of other interesting information about National Preparedness Month and about being prepared in general. So right now we're going to take a short break, and don't touch that dial, because we'll be right back with more of the Your Health television program.